Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for Eve Echoes. Today is Tuesday, which means tomorrow is of course Wednesday, or at least that's how weeks work where I'm from. Now Wednesday is of course the Eve Echoes maintenance and update day, meaning Tuesday, the day that precedes it, i.e. today, is patch note day. So we're getting some exciting new patch notes today is basically the short way of doing that entire intro, but there we go. And these patch notes are actually pretty exciting. We've got a lot of really cool stuff coming to the game tomorrow. It's not the big update, that's still scheduled for May. There will be an entire massive test server toward the end of April that we can all join in and try out those new features, but there's a lot of really cool exciting stuff coming tomorrow, including compressed ore. So this video is going to be slightly different to how I normally do my patch notes, and there is actually going to be a timestamp in the description down below as well, if you just want to skip ahead and find out what condensed ore is all about, or compressed ore, and the new skills and that are coming with that. Otherwise though, as usual, this is pretty much going to be one of those videos that doesn't have much in the way of graphics, just me giving my thoughts and opinions on this balance patch and the updates and things that are coming tomorrow. And unfortunately, this being 2021 on the internet, and with my videos being shared on Reddit, I do need to explicitly state that this is my opinion. These thoughts and opinions are mine and mine alone. If you agree with me, awesome. If you disagree with me, awesome. I'm more than happy to have a chat in the comment section down below, and we can talk mano a mano in a nice polite adult fashion about those differences in opinion. I'm not always right, I'm definitely not always wrong though, and I'm happy to have those conversations with you. So, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it, sub to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, ding the notification bell to never miss an update, and of course, let me know in the comment section down below what ships and topics you want to see me cover in future content, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on this patch, on these notes as well. Finally, if you do want to go the extra mile to be awesome and help support this channel, you can do so by joining us over on Patreon, or by finding our Redbubble merchandise store, both linked in the description down below, and checking out our super cool merchandise. Anyway, with all that said and done then, wordy intro out of the way, let's jump right into talking about the patch notes. Let's have a look first of all then at the new features and optimizations. Firstly, raised the maximum player limit of nullsec systems from 800 to 1000. And why on earth would they do this if it's a dying game, am I right? Well, no, Eve Echoes is not a dying game. We still have more players in Eve Echoes than we do in Eve Online, and that game's breaking world records with its current population. So to say that Eve Echoes is dying is ignorant at best and idiotic at worst. Just because some guy on Reddit says that the sky is falling because insurance isn't quite as good as he was hoping, does not mean that the game is dying. Just that the subreddit is slowly distilling down into its ultimate toxic state, which is why I'm spending as little time on there as freaking possible these days. Number 2, players can no longer create new characters using an emulator. Now, this is kind of a two-phase thing. On one hand, I can see that some people are going to be a little bit upset about this. If you want to play Eve Echoes on an emulator, things are slightly trickier now. You need to at least, create the character using a mobile device. Then you need to log into your emulator later on. And I get why. Emulators are nice and easy to script, whereas Android and iOS phones are much more difficult in regards to setting up these optimization scripts. So, this is for combating RMT. It's to stop those ISK sellers from just running a script on a PC somewhere that just creates new characters via keylogging emulators and things like that. Ultimately, I think this is a good thing. It's a small change for RMT, and most players won't even really notice it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, it's a mobile game, why are you using an emulator? I get that there are valid reasons why people want to play a game on an emulator. It just means that you have to spend a few minutes on a phone just to get it set up first, and to me I don't see that as a bad thing if it helps us combat RMT. Number 3, search history for each system is now saved locally on the client. Huzzah! This means when I open up a star map and I now actually search for things, I should have the names of the things I've searched for recently. When it comes to market, I should have things that I searched for recently. Rather than searching for plasmoids, realizing that, oh, hang on a second, I just need to check something quickly, then having to go back to the market and manually type it all in again, having a search history function there is really quite cool, and I do like that. I know search history is something a lot of people are, always worried about, and make sure that it's cleared before I die sort of thing. I don't think anyone's going to care that you were looking for plasmoids or trying to see if the command burst modules were still showing up on the market. Number 4, updated the ship info screen. This is cool. I'm not sure exactly what update we're getting here, but the ship info screen I think does need a little bit of love, especially the basic version before you go in on the full bit. Like the bit you see me talk about on in ship fitting guides, I think that's okay. I think there's stuff that could be done, it could be moved around and made a little bit prettier and all that, but the basic version when you first tap on a ship in the market, or on the skill tree and a ship tree and things like that, I think that could use some love, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this change here is. Number 5, added a ship comparison feature in the ship tree. Hang on a second, literally, it was like a week ago that they were in the dev Q&A saying, we're not sure if this is a cool feature, but we're not sure we're going to be able to add it anytime soon. We've got a lot of content we're working on, maybe we'll get around to this in the future. And a week later, here it is in the patch notes. So huzzah, we can now compare ships, which is really cool. That means when I'm looking at things like a Stabber Sniper and comparing it to a Stabber Fleet issue, I can just load the two side by side and actually compare notes down that way, rather than just having to pull up a notepad and sit there and write it out all manually. I mean, of course, I could use, like, you know, a Google Sheets document or an Excel document or something like that and type it out that way, and then I can make pretty crafts with it. But you know what? I got myself a Silent Rose notebook for a reason. Damn it, I'm going to fill that thing with every form of notes imaginable. And I quite like the manual approach of writing it out by hand with a pen and paper, and then actually breaking out a calculator to work out the differences. But anyway, I'm going way off topic here. The point is, they have added the ship comparison feature in the ship tree mere days after they said they weren't sure whether or not they could do this anytime soon. That is amazing. And don't take that as an example of, oh, well, NetEase say that they can't do stuff, but it turns out they can. That's a fairly simple feature to put together, and apparently it is a fairly simple thing, so they're able to do so. Don't, if you are not yourself a video game programmer, do not presume to understand the difficulty of coding, because trust me, I studied coding briefly at university. I've done a little bit here and there with things like Java, Python and Ruby, and C++, and I still have nightmares about pointers. Trust me, what may seem like a really simple thing to do can be utter nightmare to actually pull off. Anyway, number 6, updated the ship tree to allow ship filtering. Huzzah! I'm hoping this is more than just, oh, you can turn off battle cruisers. I'm hoping it's more a case of, like, you have some functions like logistics, combat ships, ships with certain skills. I'd like to know what kind of filtering we have here. Even if it is just the basics, like, you know, it's just cruisers, just, like, you know, just turning off cruisers and battle cruisers, turn off everything that's Tech 4 and below, it's still a nice function to have and something that I would hope they expand upon in the future. Number 7, players in the Executor Corporation within Alliance Management Permissions will now be notified when a corporation applies to join the Alliance or leaves it. When a corporation is removed from the Alliance, all players in that corporation will be notified. This is kind of nice. It's a quality of life change for those of us in the executive corporations of alliances like Catskull Cartel is for the Catskull Void Alliance. It means that we get that little bit more sort of update, you know, we get an actual notification saying, hey, so-and-so's applying to join, do you want to accept, all that kind of thing, rather than having to just sit there on Discord and go, have you applied yet, have you applied yet, have you applied? It's good, it's a quality of life change that most people will never notice, but it's a big change for those of us who will. Number 8, updated estimated prices according to current market transaction records. This is always a nice patch note to see because the estimated prices ultimately are the cause of most people's problems when it comes to things like the insurance system and audits. So the fact that NetEase are still manually going in and having a look at these and modifying them is good. And it means that they are taking an active interest into this, and the more that they do it manually, the more that ultimately the AI side of things will learn it and actually be better at pulling that kind of information. They did say long before the game started, you can go back and watch some of the videos I did before Eve Echoes went live, where we talked with the developers. God, I was still living in Vic Falls then. Like, you know, developers were doing Q&As and things like that, and they talked about like RMT and how to handle that and how audits were going to work. So they said it would be rough at the start, but it would get better over time, and it has. It's already a lot better than it used to be. It's not perfect yet by any stretch, but these things take time. It takes time. I think a lot of people forget that we are comparing this game to EVE Online, a game that turns 20 years old later this year, I think. 20 years this year? Is it this year, the 20th anniversary? Either way, it's been around an awful lot longer. And check what EVE Online had during its first year of operation. How many ships were in the game? How many different features were in the game? Scanning was only added in the 5th year. Battleships weren't added until after the 1st year. So I think people do need to chill sometimes and just go, you know what, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in Echoes right now. Let's not rush to the finish line, alright? Let's enjoy the journey and see what gets added over time. Number 9, patch notes will no longer pop up once you've read them until new patch notes are released. Of course, you can tap on the weird little concentric circles here on the right side of the screen to bring up the patch notes as well, but it's nice that they won't just jump up in your face. Now, obviously, this only takes effect after the update. I've read these patch notes 3 times now by time of me recording this, and they do still jump up like a puppy that's happy to see you come from home. Like, woohoo, I'm patch notes, come read me, come read me. Oh, I'm running out of battery, let's move that off to the side. Anyway, so yes, once you've read the patch notes, they will stay hidden, so you won't have to clear them off every time you log in, which I think is a cool change. Added the ore compression feature and ore compression skills. Now players can compress ore at Capsuleer outposts and Corporation citadels. Now stay tuned for the end of the patch notes here, because I am going to go over a brief bit of how this works in a moment, and we're going to talk about compressed ore because the developers have given us a little bit of insight into this ahead of time. I will do a full Catskull Academy video on it eventually, but for the time being we're going to have a quick 5-minute chat about what compressed ore is and how it works in this video. Use the timestamps down below if you want to skip ahead to that now. Number 11, added notifications for certain operations while flying in a capsule. I'm not entirely sure what notifications you're getting when flying in a capsule or what kind of stuff you need, but I don't know, maybe it's just stuff like as you fly through a Mar, you get messages of them saying, hey, looking good in that gold-looking capsule. Pretty fly, am I right? And if you have the Kaldari skin on when you fly past Jita, they're like, hey, represent, boy, or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably guessing it's going to be a little bit more serious than that, if I'm being honest, but there we go. Number 12, added info about viewing blueprints. 2 tips. Tips, or TIPS, as it's written here. These, I think, are when you click on that bouncy orange eyeball thing, and you get loads of information there, and like the Hitchhiker's Guide to New Eden and stuff like that. Where you can look through and get some really cool information about stuff. That's a feature that I think a lot of people don't even really know is there, but it's so good. If you are listening to this and you're not sure what I'm talking about, that little circular eye thing that's on the edge of your screen, tap it, go to the Hitchhiker's Guide to New Eden, and just spend 30 minutes looking through that and reading all the awesomeness within. It's amazing, and I can't believe so many people just don't know about it. Some of it's really useful game stuff, a lot of it's just lore and backstory and really interesting stuff. If you've wanted to know why Cache is Cache and why Geminate is Geminate and what on earth is actually going on in Fountain and all that kind of thing, you've got that information. You've got information on local wildlife, the races, the planets, the empires. There's so much cool stuff there to dig through. Anyway, after completing an encounter mission number 13, if there are items the mission offers, you will receive an extra notification reminding you to claim the items at the destination. If you do one of those delivery ones that gives you a crate, or you're finishing one of the storyline missions that again gives you a special crate at the end, and it's back at a different station to the one you finished at, good, you now get notified that, do you want to go and pick that up? Because if you're anything like me, you've flown off, done a whole load of other missions, and then gone, hang on a second, wasn't there a crate full of goodies I was supposed to pick up? And you have to go all the way through your inventory and that, trying to work out where the heck that is, and then you realise it's 30 jumps away and you just die a little bit inside. Now, number 14, tapping the balance update notice will direct you now to the Corporation Wallet interface. I'm not sure where it was directing you before, but I'm guessing it was directing you to somewhere different. This, to me, makes sense. It's when the corporation, when someone withdraws or, puts in money into a Corporation Wallet, if you tap the notification, it now takes you to the Corporation Wallet so you can actually have a look at it, which makes sense. That, to me, seems more like a bug fix than a new feature, but again, there we go. Number 15, when selecting items to reprocess, the reprocessing interface will now pop up. I wasn't even aware there was a reprocessing interface. I just tend to do the multi-select in my inventory, reprocess everything, and then dump it into a hangar for some other poor sod to deal with. I reprocess fairly frequently. I just don't tend to use the stuff that's reprocessed. I donate that to the corporation without even thinking twice. There we go, I'm a nice guy like that. And then, of course, we have our bug fixes themselves. Fixed an issue when the security rating of some systems were incorrectly displayed. Yeah, imagine your shock when you're flying through what you think is a 0.8 security system, only to realise that, oh no, I'm in deep null. okay, it wasn't that bad. It was more a case of it's a 0.2 minus system, and it was showing up as a 0.3 or a 0.1 and stuff like that. But it's a nice little fix there. I think it's also a case where some of the systems were showing us 0.0 and minus 0.0 as if those were two separate things. Number 2, fixed an issue where kill mails would not load in certain cases. Thank you. Thank you. I'm also hoping this is now the fix for where you do 98% of the damage to an enemy ship, and then they get hit by one rocket from a lone Kisti Talwar, and suddenly you don't get the kill mail. That really sucks when that happens, and I'm really hoping that being under bug fixes, that's what's now been fixed. Because, oh boy, I am missing so many kill mails because blasted NPCs apparently stole the kill at the last second, and that means that all of my efforts don't count for anything. So, yeah, hopefully they'll retroactively give us those back as well, because I've got a lot of kill mails I'd like to go through and celebrate that I just, people were like, yeah, sure, Benzie, you didn't kill that. I'm like, I did! It's just not giving me the kill mail, I promise I did it! Hopefully it will retroactively give those, so now I can literally grab people's faces and rub them in it. Number 3, fixed an issue where you would be incorrectly directed to another skin when tapping the Maelstrom Dawn skin in the New Eden store. Well, considering no one can fly a Maelstrom yet, this wasn't a big problem, but again, it's nice that it's a fix ahead of time. And again, I say this, it's nice to see that even the little weird bugs like this get fixed pretty timelessly. Yes, okay, there are issues with things like drones and that, but as I said before when we're talking about programming, don't assume that what you think is a quick fix actually is a quick fix. The fact that the little bugs like this do get sorted, to me suggests that NetEase are paying attention and they are looking into getting these fixed as soon as possible. And yes, Reddit is going to call me a shill for saying that because I try to have faith in the developers of the game I love. I want to sit there and say, this should be fixed, and I have positive vibes and hope for it. And yeah, I encourage you to do the same. Stop being a doomsayer, stop looking at things and saying to yourself, oh, it's going to be terrible. Look at it and go, you know what? This could be awesome. Let's see what happens, and if it's not as awesome as I hope, then we'll give some nice constructive feedback and work together to make this game even more awesome. That's what I do. You can call me a shill for it as much as you like, but I'm going to sit there and hope that NetEase, a company that have been developing games for a long time and have been working on this particular game for about 4 years, are ultimately doing their best to try and make it a decent product, you know? But anyway, I'm digressing now, and we do have some stuff here to talk about in regards to note number 10, added the ore compression feature and ore compression skills. So let's jump across now and talk about compressing ore. This is the Rorqual, probably EVE Online's most powerful industrial vessel. It's a capital-class ship that has a hangar bay that friendly ships can dock at, offload at, even pick up new ships, repair their ships, all that kind of thing. It fits command bursts, and it has the incredibly well-named Pulse-Activated Nexus Invulnerability Core, or PANIC, button. Basically, press that thing and your entire fleet is invulnerable for 6 whole minutes while reinforcements come. It's an absolute powerhouse. It looks really awesome. I thought it would make a fantastic thumbnail image here for this particular video. It's not coming to EVE Echoes anytime soon. I'm really sorry if I got anyone's hopes up there. It was just one of those ships that I thought looked really cool. It's industrial related. We're talking about compressed ores. Sue me, alright? Anyway, so, you might remember that back in March we had this particular tweet added to the EVE Echoes official Twitter account, and if you don't follow Twitter, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I will be updating you all on stuff like this as soon as we all see it. Anyway, want to be able to more easily transport your ore? With the ability to compress ore, you'll now be able to move a lot more in less time. This will especially help with manufacturing larger ships and citadels. More details will be shared as we near its release in early April. Well, it's early April, and as patch note 10 said, it is coming tomorrow at long last. This is the information that we were given here in the EVE Echoes community Discord. This is the content creator, the channel here. This is what was given to us. We will release the ability to compress ores after maintenance this week. Compressed ore details: 100 ordinary ore can be compressed into 1 compressed ore, and 10 rich ores can be compressed into 1 compressed ore. As far as I'm aware, compressed ore takes up the same space as 1 unit of the ordinary ore. So 1 compressed Veldspar is the same as 1 Veldspar. but it's worth 100 Veldspar or 10 rich Veldspar. Now, you can only compress if you are docked either at a corporation citadel or a capsuleer outpost that has the industrial manufacturing plant thing installed on it. And it will use a lot of fuel, and we'll come to that in just a moment. There are 3 new skills being added to the game tomorrow. All of these are ore compression. So we have ore compression, advanced ore compression, and expert ore compression, and these will unlock at Tech 5. What these do is reduce the amount of fuel consumed in order to actually compress ore. Not vital, obviously. If you've got enough fuel, then you don't need to worry about things too much. You can just compress it and kind of laugh and just go for it. Ultimately, though, your corporation is going to love you for having this trained, because you're not going to just absolutely chew through any fuel sitting in a corporation citadel. And if you have your own capsuleer outpost that you're using for this, again, you're not going to have quite as many plasmoids or whatever in the fuel tank in order to actually fuel all of this. You'll see here that basic fuel consumption reduces by 5% per level, so that's a full 25% reduction to the skill there. And as the notes say, fuel consumption for compressing ores will be reduced by about 50% after maxing out these skills. So even if you only get basic to 5, that's still a 25% reduction. You then get a further 15% here for adding on up to advanced 5, and then a further 10% with expert. So it's 25 plus 15 takes you to 40. So having advanced 5 and basic at 5, you're 40% less fuel consumed, and then add the expert on to give you the full 50% reduction to how this works. Now, ultimately, I'm going to jump across here because we were also given this fantastic little screenshot. This shows how much fuel is required to compress 1 block of compressed ore. So if you've got 100 Veldspar and you want to compress that down to 1 compressed Veldspar, that's going to cost you 49 gigajoules of fuel. If you've got 10 rich Veldspar and you want to compress those down to 1 compressed Veldspar, that's 32 gigajoules of fuel, and that goes all the way up here to Mercoxit being the most expensive. 100 Mercoxit going down to 1 compressed Mercoxit is going to cost you 29,619 gigajoules of fuel, and that is a lot of fuel to compress down with here. So you can see why you might want to have the skills here that just help you to reduce those fuel costs. Otherwise, you're going to be spending an awful lot of money dumping fuel into this to try and compress your ores. But it does mean that if you're looking to carry ore from station to station, like for example if your corporation is mining in a particular area but the actual production factory is elsewhere, you're going to be able to carry a lot more of it. Things like a Mammoth as well, Mammoth and the Wreath with their dedicated ore hold, you should find that compressed ore counts towards the dedicated ore hold. So you'll be able to carry a lot more ore in these, literally 100 times more ore than you had before, which frankly is ludicrously amazing. I'm going to leave this on screen here just for a moment. Do feel free to take a screenshot of that if you want to have that information on screen here as well. I'm sure I will post this to Reddit if someone else hasn't already. It's about time someone put something positive and useful on Reddit, am I right? But again, if you do want to just screenshot this, you are welcome to do so. Final point though, before we round this off, we were also given the actual graphics here for the compressed ore icons, and I just have to say that I'm not a miner, but I really like these. That's really cool. I like the little golden stand that they're on, and whatever this ore is in the bottom left, the sort of pink crystal, the red one just above it to the right, and the green one to the next of that, I want these ores. I just want one of those in my holds just because that looks so cool, and secretly I'm thinking that that might bring me good luck. Anyway folks, that does wrap things up here for both the patch notes and our brief look at compressed ore. The patch notes are pretty exciting. There's a lot of really interesting stuff here happening, and compressed ore I know is something that a lot of industrial folks are going to be really excited about for helping to move stuff around and being able to build those big ships and those citadels, etc. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some more information on when we get the upgrade stuff for citadels, etc. soon as well. Obviously, we're coming towards the May update. There is an April test server that we're going to get information on soon. Ding the notification bell, subscribe to this channel. I will let you know once we know more about how that test server is going to operate, and I will of course be putting out tons of videos on my thoughts, etc., what's going on there if you don't have time to jump into that test server. The big update itself is still due to land in May. I know people are saying, oh, they're saying it's going to be May, what if it gets pushed back? I think they've hyped this one so high now that if anything, they just might reduce some of the content in it if it gets pushed back, but I just don't foresee that being the case. I think people complaining that there's not enough content around at the moment aren't aware that, it's obvious that they've been pushing that content instead into this one big update. And yes, I'd prefer multiple smaller updates than fewer big ones, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Compressed Ore and the patch notes in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, thank you for watching me all the way to the end of this, another very wordy patch notes video. Thank you for your support, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!